The old cabin had been in my family for generations, a remote little dot on a map deep in the mountains. I always loved it, especially in winter. The silence, the way the snow muffled the world into a peaceful hush. This year, I decided to spend a week there alone, a much-needed escape from the city. The forecast called for a light dusting of snow. Nothing to worry about. Or so I thought. The first 2 days were idyllic. I read by the fire, hiked through the crisp, clean air, and felt the knot of city stress finally begin to unwind. Then, on the third evening, the wind began to howl. It wasn't a gentle whistle. It was a screech, a living thing clawing at the log walls. The light dusting of snow turned into a full-blown blizzard. Within hours, the world outside was just a swirling vortex of white. I was completely snowed in. At first, it was cozy. I had plenty of firewood, food, and a stack of books. But as the second day of the storm wore on, the isolation started to feel less like a comfort and more like a cage. The wind never stopped its assault, and strange noises began to creep into the symphony of the storm. A faint scratching from the attic, a soft thud against the back door. I told myself it was just the house settling, the wind playing tricks on me. It had to be that night. I was jolted awake by a loud crash from downstairs. My heart hammered against my ribs. I grabbed the heavy iron poker from the fireplace and crept down the creaking stairs. My breath fogged in the frigid air. The living room was empty, just as I'd left it. I checked the windows, the doors, all locked, all sealed tight by the snowdrifts piled high against them. Then I saw it. The old grandfather clock in the corner had fallen, its glass face shattered. Odd, it had been stable for years. I chalked it up to a bizarrely strong gust of wind, a tremor from the storm's fury. Shaken, I went back to bed, leaving the poker by my side. The next morning, the storm had finally broken. A brilliant, almost blinding sun reflected off a pristine, untouched world of white. A sense of relief washed over me. I made a cup of coffee and went to the living room window to survey the scene. The snow was deep, at least 4 feet. There wasn't a single track. Not from an animal, not from anything. Just a perfect, unbroken blanket. As I turned from the window, my gaze fell to the floor, and my blood ran cold. There, pressed into the thin layer of dust on the wooden floorboards, were footprints. Wet, bare footprints. They weren't mine. Mine were dry, from my slippers. These were soaking wet, as if someone had just come in from the snow. But how? Everything was locked, snowed in. My heart pounding, I followed them. They led from the front door, which was still bolted shut and blocked by a mountain of snow. They padded past the fallen grandfather clock. They walked through the kitchen. Then they led down the narrow hallway toward the back of the cabin. My hand tightened on the coffee mug, the warmth doing nothing to stop the chill spreading through my entire body. The hallway was dark, but I could still make out the tracks. They were small, almost childlike. They continued down the hall, each step a silent scream in the quiet house. They led right up to a single door at the very end of the hall, the door to the old pantry, a room I never used. A room that had been locked with a heavy iron key for as long as I could remember. I always kept that key on a hook in the kitchen. My eyes darted back to the kitchen. The hook was empty. The key was gone. The wet footprints stopped directly in front of the pantry door. They didn't lead away. They just ended. And from behind that door, in the suffocating silence of the snow-locked cabin, I heard a faint, slow scratching sound. I wasn't alone. I hadn't been for days, and whatever was in there with me was now locked in that room, waiting. I'm still here, waiting for the snow to melt.